Eye on Gauteng, brought to you by the Gauteng Department of Economic Development.
Welcome back. You're still watching Eye on Gauteng. With us is Derick Auret, Ndanduleni Makhari, and Dr. Stephen Rule. Now, just before the break, Dr. Rule, we were talking about the economic impact of the gambling institutions and the sustainability thereof. We want to talk now about the job creation. You've done the study. On average, how many jobs are created by the industry? Permanent jobs, at least.
I think the figure is about 11,000 jobs in Gauteng, related primarily to the casino industry, but there is a multiplier effect of between 2 and 5. So it could be, an additional 20,000, 30,000 jobs in related industries. So there is a significant impact there.
I'm glad you talk about related industries, because I wanted to also hone in on the fact that the gambling industry, the casino industry in particular, has the potential to lend to the leisure and tourism industries. Is that what you're talking about?
Correct. Other forms of entertainment, movies and theatres, for example, like the casino here in Four Ways. I get the impression the majority of people go there for things other than gambling, but I have heard that there's not very much crossover between the regular gamblers and the other industries. I'm not sure if the other participants might confirm that.
You want to comment about that? The crossover between going there for gambling and going there for entertainment, because essentially these are entertainment venues.
Now, I think if we check amongst the casinos, it's not only the gambling machines which you find in the casinos. They've got convention centers. So on a regular basis, people go and conduct their courses, have meetings, and we have got a lot of shows. You go to places like any casinos, there will be boxing, fashion shows, and all those type of things. And even our tourists, they come to the country, and see our beautiful country, especially Gauteng. In October, we had a team from Las Vegas. We held our workshop at Emperor's Palace, and they were so excited, because people coming from outside, they think, when they think about South Africa, they thought that they're going to see animals. And one of the lecturers says he was so amazed to see how beautiful our casinos are, with all the facilities. If you take any casinos in Gauteng and you compare it to, the size will differ. But for me, I went to Las Vegas, it's not that different, It's more or less the same. So those facilities, the restaurant, people go there, which is part of entertainment. People go there for accommodation and all sorts of things. I think what I also want to add is the fact that if you check the study which was done in 2009 by National Gambling Board, the contribution to GDP, it was almost just less than 1%, 0.93%. And the contribution towards the infrastructure, according to the study, it was over 10 billion. So there is a lot of growth in terms of the economy.
All right, now Derick, obviously she touched on investment. Is there an appetite from foreign investors to invest in this particular sector in South Africa? Clearly, because we've seen that it's quite sustainable.
I'd like to answer that question, but I'd like to take one step back, and that is about the policy position which government took when it legalized casinos, and that was a very basic one, namely that they did not want standalone casinos, but they actually wanted destination-type casinos with other facilities, so that one would not only have a hall in standing somewhere with a lot of slot machines. That caused investment throughout the industry, over the entire industry, of some 19 billion rand into the ground. Including convention centers, theaters, etc., etc. During the construction phase, the job creation was in excess of 100,000 jobs, and currently, at the moment, industry-wide, we maintain approximately 51,000, just something more than 51,000 jobs, which is significant. Is there a taste for investment? At the moment, we only have one company that has foreign investment or a foreign investor in South Africa. There are only 4 main operators at the moment. And that will depend on the ability of the casinos to expand their businesses. Now, that's not so easy. How do you expand your business? You either increase the size of your casino gambling, but the Guateng board charges a lot for one extra machine. They want R1 million if a company wants to put in another machine, so that's a bit difficult, problematical. So there is actually a constraint on companies to expand the businesses, and therefore, you know, difficulty for foreigners to invest.
Let's look at some of the threats to the industry. I mean, we spoke about the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities. Now, let's talk about some of the threats. The tax regimen that is looming at the moment. I know that the provincial governments have a percentage. We spoke to Ndanduleni, they get about 9%, the Gauteng provincial government, and various provincial governments have their percentages. But now the national government wants to talk about the taxing of winnings, further 15%. I'm going to ask Ndanduleni to get into that. I know you're also part of government, but from a provincial level. Is this going to help the industry or hurt the industry?
The issue of taxing the winning of 25,000, 15% is a national issue. From SARS perspective, they are the ones who are coming with that policy, but we are still discussing. It's not yet finalized.
Okay.
The National Gambling Board, together with ourselves, we have had several meetings with the Treasury to deliberate on the side effects, the good effects of it. But I think what is critical now, we just have to wait and see what will be the final results.
Dr. Will, you want to jump in on that? Further taxation of winnings, do you think it's a threat to the industry? Is it going to discourage people from gambling more or gambling at all?
I wouldn't think so. I mean, you know, from a cynical perspective, I think the former Minister of Finance said that gambling is a form of taxation for people who don't understand mathematics. So effectively it is that, you know. Many of the people in our surveys just simply do not understand the probability factor and the chances of winning. So, you know, they just go for it, you know, they get involved. And
if I may just add, I think it will not affect the punters. Because the tax obviously doesn't affect the punter in any way whatsoever, but it will affect the operating companies, and it will affect the possibilities of expansion. It will affect other, how shall I put it, other things that they could do to make the products more attractive. And it will have a negative effect, no question. It might also have effect on jobs.
Okay. Now, just before that, we were talking about Las Vegas. I mean, when somebody talks about Las Vegas is a quintessential gambling mecca, for want of a better phrase. Now, the Gauteng government, do you see the Gauteng province, I mean, as it is, you have the lion's share of revenue, gross gambling revenue. Do you see the Gauteng province as a destination that people from the continent can say, I want to go and take a chance, I want to throw a few dices, I'm going to come to the Gauteng province?
I think the difference between Gauteng and Las Vegas is that, you know, the casinos are not located in one place. If you can take all the casinos, the 7 casinos in Gauteng, and you put them in one place, you can get more or less the size of Las Vegas, you know. But the intention was that you need to make sure that you distribute the casinos, those who are interested. What I like about the Gauteng model is that, you know, currently the casinos are located in the urban area. So it also addresses for those who are staying in the township that, you know, because they don't have, you know, that type of income, it restricts them a little bit to come to the casino. You know, but I think if you have to compare the two, I would say put the 7 casinos in Gauteng together, you have your Las Vegas.
Now, Dr. Rule, you've obviously studied how the impact that the casino has on a community. Is it really that labor intensive? Does it really absorb a lot of people within the industry if they set up shop in a remote area somewhere in Gauteng?
if you take a place like Monte Casino, there are a huge number of restaurants, theatres and so on, and as I mentioned earlier, my impression is that the majority of people go to Monte Casino for the experience of being in that environment and not necessarily to go and gamble. I mean, where else in Africa can you go and see a replica of Florence? It's so realistic. And you know, we've had overseas visitors who just want to go and see what it's like, you know. So, I mean, the traffic getting in there over the weekends, or if there's a conference or something, it's incredible.
Okay, right. So we just about to end the program. I just like a closing comment from all three of my guests, starting with Derick. Your closing comment on the gambling industry, on the casino industry in particular in your case?
I think the casino industry, or the gambling industry, and specifically the casinos which I represent, find themselves in a position where they have a very well-regulated gambling regime. We are happy with the rules and the regulations. We hope that there will be an opportunity for further expansion. And that the level of taxation will not be increased.
So you say more expansion rather than more licenses?
Doesn't necessarily mean more licenses, no, absolutely not. There are other ways in which that can be done. But I think, as I said earlier, government got it right, and we are quite happy that the business can grow, provided we are given the space to do so.
Fantastic. Ndanduleni?
We, as Guateng Gambling Board, together with the Department of Economic Development, we are happy that we are still on track in terms of achieving our objectives. And we, through the responsible gambling programs which we are introducing, we are sure that we'll be able to balance the issue of the revenue collected together. We're ensuring that we have got responsible gamblers in the country.
Mm-hmm. Now, Dr. Rule, do you think that this industry has reached its ceiling as far as revenue collection? Do you think we can get more than 16 billion? Or in the case of Gauteng, 67 billion?
I think the most recent figures show that there was a peak a year or two ago. It may have peaked. But just to go back to my earlier point, in spite of the benefits of the industry, one needs to be cautious about that small proportion who are susceptible to gambling. And our research showed last year that there are particular groups, the 10 to 20,000 a month earning category, and the 35 to 45 age group, particularly males, who are the most susceptible. And the responsible gambling programs just need to keep an eye on them and help wherever they can.